first two sessions, we have already spoken about reimagining education for creative and effective learning and leveraging EdTech in empowering the coming workforce. But are we forgetting something here, or someone, or perhaps a specific community? A community that requires more hand-holding, more support, and more understanding, and definitely more opportunities. I'm talking about creating supporting environments for the special needs community, students who come from special needs, whether it's the physical disabilities or intellectual, we will combine them both. How can we reimagine education to make it inclusive and accessible to that section of society that feels trapped in a continuous cycle of prejudices and lack of opportunities for sure? I have the privilege of hosting our third panel discussion this afternoon, and it's incredible that I have the pleasure of introducing to you someone who has done remarkable work in the field of inclusive education. Please welcome on stage Dr. Priyanka Jain Babu, founder and CEO, Kriya Foundation, which is a non-profit organization, and it's working towards disseminating compassionate scientific practices to support people with neurodiverse needs. Let's start the discussion with Dr. Priyanka Babu and then take it further.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, ABP Live, for giving this dais for me to speak about a cause that is so close to my heart of working with children with neurodiverse needs. Hi, Preeti.
Hi, Dr. Priyanka Babu, and let me just tell the audience that it's not our first interaction. I've had the privilege of having many closed-door, one-on-one discussions with Dr. Priyanka Babu discussing the plan for my neurodiverse kids. But this platform gives us an opportunity to bring it to a larger audience. So let's start from the very basic here, Dr. Priyanka. And first, for those who are not used to these terms, for the uninitiated, what is your definition of inclusive education and why is it important? Let's put that in perspective.
Thank you, Preeti. Inclusion in body, inclusion in mind, and inclusion in heart begins its doors in education, first from a mother's womb, and then from the mother family, and then the school systems or education systems that come up, even higher education systems. I think what we have achieved in the last few decades is that we have overcome, or at least started climbing the steps of body inclusions. So male, female, black, white, race, gender, localities. And so right to education has then reached a place where body, to be included, is not an option. But have we really, kind of changed the thought process around minds can be different? The way I hear can be different, the way I talk can be different, the way I think can be different, and the way I learn can be also very different.
Right.
That neurodiversity for which a human race becomes a human race, I don't know if it is a very included kind of thought process amongst us. मैं ऐसा सोचता हूँ तो मैं ठीक हूँ, आप वैसे सोचते हैं शायद आप ठीक नहीं हैं, पर क्या it is not a fact that two thought processes can be different and still be all right, and maybe applied to different places, different things, and that acceptance of mind as a neurodiverse space is still, I think, it as a very nascent phase. Go one step forward. What is neurodivergence? When this neurodiversity kind of becomes difficult for a child or a parent or a person in the society to absorb from the society, to contribute to the society, that neurodivergence becomes like a hurdle because of the society not being able to support it. Not really neurodivergence by itself is a problem. लेकिन जो हमारे standard societal education systems हैं, standard societal asks हैं, standard societal norms हैं, उनको वो neurodivergent individual support नहीं कर पाते, and they learn very differently. I don't know if we are ready yet to have that level of inclusion. There are a lot of thoughts, lot of steps coming forward, but lots of work left in that space. Going to the heart And I always feel like all change does not begin at a body or in a physical kind of realm, or even in the mental realm. People think that but I think a lot of it begins at the heart, at the acceptance, at the respect, at the compassion. That inclusion has ways to go, I believe.
And I think there are various layers to it. That inclusion starts perhaps with a family, then goes to the school when the child is school ready, then to higher education or entering the workforce, and the society at large. So for the benefit of the audience here and those who are watching us on YouTube, when we are discussing the inclusion part for our children and for even young adults with neurodiversity, we are categorizing them what is known as normal as neurotypical, and anything which is not quote-unquote normal goes into the neurodivergent category. And then we are also talking about the physical disabilities, because now you are telling us that that has become mandatory. There has to be a ramp for wheelchair. You cannot deny a child admission in a classroom or even in a college, or even in workforce there is a quota for physical disabilities. But intellectual disabilities is difficult to not just identify but also accommodate because of various reasons involved. How do we start training? And where do we start training? What's your first level where you tell maybe parents, and then how to deal with a child with neurodivergent needs at a school level? Where do we start?
Right. I think I would like to kind of define smart education from my perspective. I think if we have something very systematic, that's the S of smart. If we have something that's very mindful and knows that what motivations can be different, that is M for me. A is the foundation. If you can't accept it, if you can't respect it, you can't be smart about anything. So going on further, and if we are not using science or research to support our trainings or our education or our awareness programs, doing something that happened 30 years ago, and that's how I will kind of introduce my journey, is I was an ENT surgeon working at a special school. And sorry, I switched to stories, and if I may.
Absolutely fine.
I'm an ENT surgeon by profession, and I love pediatric ENT, and I went and studied in US on voice disorders. When I came here to a special school, and I realized that what we are thinking, what we are practicing, what we are doing is so old, and our curriculums are at fault. Our education system is at fault. And here is where I love the thought of Craftshala and, Class Plus, is that they've shrunk the world. Earlier, it used to take 20 years for something to come into our curriculum, get taught, and then it was already very old. Now, we don't have that. So now when the world has shrunk and technology has come in, that story I haven't ended is, seeing what I saw in US and seeing what I saw here made me shift a line of profession completely. I became an educationist at heart, and I became an educationist by training. But that training was available from US for 16 lakh rupees. I'm talking 20 years ago. Today, Kriya is doing the same training for parents, for professionals, at 2 lakhs, at 1 lakhs, at 50,000, at 30,000, at 20,000, at 5,000. The level of difference that we have been able to make on that training, and it's available from a parent to a professional all the way. You can become a professional at that point. I wish it was available to everybody 20 years ago. I tell you a story? I'm sorry, there are
We
a lot
love
of stories to
stories.
tell. I love stories. I had a young man who was 23 years old. He could not communicate, and he couldn't comprehend. He was talking, but gibberish. He was understanding, but nobody knew what. I took him to help him in a placement agency, willing to include, willing to take them on the workforce, but they said, how will we? How will we include him? How will we tell him what we want? How will he tell us, more importantly, what he wants? It got me back thinking. As an ENT surgeon, I didn't have any answers. I looked up total communication. I went to the speech therapist and I said, could you help him? He said, ma'am, ये तो 23 years old है, हमें नहीं आता, हमारे college में नहीं सिखाया गया था. So we looked it up. In 2 months' time, He learned a functional vocabulary of 250 words. You could write your instructions to him, you could give it to him, he would do it, he would come back, he could communicate to you in writing. The capability of a 23-year-old to use an alternative communication system, and now he uses digital communication system. As I come to you today, my life is kind of circling a full round, and yesterday he sent me a WhatsApp message saying, "Good morning, how are you doing?"
Wow.
For digital systems to be able to train, to be able to offer this level of communication technology, we talk about iPads and we talk about Awaz apps. I think if the digital edtech system focused on a problem that is so big, we are 2 million children with disability. We are about 2 lakh teachers or less trained in special education, but even trained in old special education methods, not the current, not the scientific, not the most systematic, not the smartest. I think holding that and bringing it to the edtech space and filling up this gap between 2 million and 2 lakhs can actually, from being very, very old, traditional, to being very current and digital and, supporting, yet not losing, the heart.
The human part. Yeah.
And this is where I feel like a lot of digital training begins at information. It begins at systems. It begins at skilling. I think it can actually begin at the heart, because visual media is possibly much stronger as a heart-building media than anything else that we have.
Right.
So this young man then kind of brings me to the space where if one person decides and can make that difference to one person at a time, with the use of digital media, one person can decide and
Correct.
can do, what did he name? The last man, the 2 men that were here, their numbers are just mind-boggling me, in millions and thousands and 100,000s like that. I think it would create such a huge impact and shift for children with neurodiverse needs and special needs.
Dr. Babu, I have to ask you that, there is so much of advancement in technology. There is so much that is available to us right now. When it comes to the special needs community, are we at a stage where we are utilizing the data available with the available technology to make specific programs and specific, the needs of a child is catered to? Have we reached that stage, or there is a bridge that we have to, bring together, that there is a gap that has to be bridged?
I think it's a canyon. Not just a bridge, like there is a huge canyon to be bridged across. The challenges with neurodiverse individuals or with special needs children is that every child is different, every family is different, every learning opportunity goes differently to each person. So customizing it becomes itself a huge challenge. I think what I specialize, I'm a behavioral scientist now by profession, and we evaluate how people learn and then customize that learning using database decision making. So we use a science called applied behavior analysis, and it needs so much customization. There's so much human error in it. When you're collecting data, when
Right.
you're applying it back. I think the digital technology, when used for this, can actually make it more accurate. It can make it much faster. It can actually give you real-time feedback onto how to change. Imagine if I wore a digital kind of device. I have a video analysis that is being done by AI. I have put in customization and made those dot points that stick to each other. And a mother is trying to work. And over the COVID, I have worked with a lot of mothers across digital systems. So Zoom, fortunately for us, helped us. But it was so hard. By the time I spoke, the child had gone out of the hands, the mother's holding the head, and there was sheer exhaustion.
Yeah.
But if this was happening in real time through technology, imagine the ease with which you could flow the learning And of course, I think a lot of neurodiverse individuals learn much better through digital technology than they do through people.
That's true, because it's
You
more
know.
appealing. It's also accessible to every child now. Have you thought about an ABA app ever? I'm very curious to know about it.
You know,
Because it's a
I-
scientific method, and an app would provide access to parents and trainers at the same time.
Yeah, I have always thought about apps and somebody who would take my hands and my heart and my brain and convert it into digital and, kind of disseminate to hundreds and thousands of people. But I always feel like somebody else would do it. But really, nobody else is going to do it for you. What is close to your heart, what is real to you, you can collaborate with a lot of people. You have to be a part of it. I think you have to add that experiential value to artificial intelligence and make that intelligence very application specific to children with special needs. So I think I open today's, that door of my mind to any collaborators, anybody here who would love to work with Kriya Foundation, make our training systems. Already, I think we are doing a lot of video libraries, video trainings, tier 3, tier 4 cities, who can't access what we have learned or who can't come to Delhi to learn. No parents can leave their children and come here. No professionals want to stop working, not earning and, doing. So we've established the earn and learn kind of models. We have established video libraries, that we've established supervision that is outside, and just converting this into a more deliverable packet, which is supported by an app, but really has all the ingredients in place. Would be, I think I come here actually to seek collaboration rather than to tell you more about what I do.
I think that's a great appeal. That's a great pitch. We have many educators and many innovators here amongst the audience. If someone like from Craftshala or Class Plus can come together and create something in collaboration with Kriya, that will be really helpful for the community. Now, there is a general understanding that gadgets are bad for kids. iPad बैन कर दो, टीवी बैन कर दो, यूट्यूब नहीं चलना चाहिए, ज़्यादा वीडियोस नहीं देखने चाहिए. In special needs community, I feel children learn a lot from these YouTube videos. A lot of them pick up language, even if it's robotic language or it's a certain tone or accent. They learn their ABCs, their 1, 2, 3s and everything from videos. So when it comes to technology and gadgets and the special needs community, where do you stand?
Harban. So virtual autism is becoming a reality. Screen time, overload, processing disorders are becoming a reality. And, I have a lot of colleagues who ban digital screen time for my young learners who are 2, 3, 4, and 5. I believe, and I think the speakers before me have reiterated it as well, is what do you use it for? How do you use it? The only thing that they missed is what is missed when you are using digital technology, right? A part of our learning is from books, and a part of it is from games, and a part of it is from physical
Social
thing.
interactions.
So we are a complex organism, right? We don't just learn from one thing. So when we are using digital, screen time guidelines for parents or for children, special needs or no special needs, it really doesn't matter. Even ourselves, actually, if I'm only digitally focused, I will not be able to do well. If I have no digital focus or learning, if you ban it, the only thing that they were learning from, you're taking away that medium. Use it as a strength. I think this whole, over the next, say, 100, 200 years, I don't know in how many years, or maybe even faster the way we are learning, we'll have a very change in the way the brain develops. The visual areas will become stronger, the language areas will become weaker, and all that will also start happening. So not having a fanatic ban, but knowing how to balance is possibly the key. A lot of people talked about problem solving as a key, skill. I think balance as a key skill is what is missing really from the community, either maybe special needs, non-special needs, parents, job seekers, job givers. We are not, I think we are becoming a little imbalanced in the way we see the world. And really remember, हमारा body 5 धातुओं से बना हुआ है, right? Going back to our Eastern wisdom of value-based work. A lot of people know how to do it, but they don't know why they are doing it. I want to show a digital screen to my child. Why am I showing it? Am I using it as a babysitter? Are we doing repetitive work? Or am I using it for his progress or her progress? So why becomes very important. Going back to your Eastern values, value systems become very important. I think balancing and growing all parts of your brain is very, very important. I only work, I don't cook, I don't clean. A part of me never actually exercises. A part of me actually never rests. And this is where we are making, we are not doing well.
Well, I think balance is something that we all are seeking as individuals, whether you are neurotypical or neurodiverse.
But are we learning it from somewhere? Is the digital class plus craft shala creators, influencers, are they also teaching? I think well-being is becoming an industry by itself.
Yeah.
So hopefully we are going to focus on it more than now.
Okay, now let's move a little towards skill development of individual with special needs. And when we talk about the special needs community, we do emphasize a lot on activities of daily living, and their vocational training to get them ready to enter the workforce. In perhaps 5 to 10 years now, are we going to include or make it mandatory that a child who's in the intellectual disability spectrum gets digitally trained for sure? Because now AI is driving our life. So if an individual who has speech enters his household and gives a command, Alexa, switch on AC lights, Alexa, heat up my food, or Alexa, serve me, or whatever, I think it's going to be a great advantage because they then are not dependent on other humans, perhaps. But this kind of training, don't you think we should perhaps look forward to it?
I think digital upskilling, I think I can tell a story.
Yeah, please go ahead.
That works, right? Sorry, I have to take permission to tell stories.
No problem
Digital,
at all.
I can talk without permission. There was a young man. He was in a school system, 5 years old. And the school system was one of the best schools, very inclusive, very integrated, had the best heart, and had accommodated, the body. But they just didn't know how his mind worked. And that school system didn't work for him. He fell out of that school system. He had a lot of self-injurious behaviors. And when they came to us, when I say they, because there was a mother and son, they were falling apart. As we understood his mind, and we understood his strength, and we understood his difficulties, we supported the difficulties heavily in the first 2 to 3 years. Then, after the first 3 years, we identified the strength and we built the strength. Today, the young man is 18 years old. He is now, producing products. He's got his own website called Made It Special. Not only is he, has he enabled himself, and the joy when he has his products on the table and they are going away. The ability for a child to feel that and open this dais up to multiple other children with difficulties. And then the corporates kind of taking it upon themselves to give them a door is just creating a whole ecosystem that can work, so beautifully. And we will have to. We will have to include not just, digitally. We'll have to train through awareness, digital marketing systems, productions, digital upskilling. And digital upskilling really, intellectual disability is a word that is possibly going to go out completely from the vocabulary of the world. It is going to become a neurodiverse ability or some intelligence which is very different and not, not the neurotypical, so to say. I still have to use the word.
Or considered a constraint.
Or considered a constraint. And these neurodiverse individuals will, when we focus on their strength areas, actually supersede. We know many neurodiverse individuals who have done beautifully in the tech industry, and I think the tech industry is thriving because of thinking out of the box. So having a value-based thought process, then having a very scientific, technical, digital approach, and then thinking out of the box and problem solving for that box. I think if we can think like that for anybody, it would actually work for neurodiverse individuals as much as it will work for all of us.
Great. Now, Dr. Priyanka Babu, we've been discussing about preparing, the coming generation to enter the workforce and using technology and smart educational tools to empower them. The same thing applies for preparing the special needs community to enter the workforce. The gentleman here who has repeated at least 2 times that we are a population of 140 crore, but that also includes a good chunk of people with special needs. Right. Now, are we preparing them for entering the workforce? How ready is our, corporates? How ready are they to accept this special, quote-unquote, special workforce? And what would be your appeal? Where do you see this going?
I think training the teachers or empowering the teachers would be our step first. Special education is still a very traditionally taught. Anything that is in the curriculums today in the colleges that special educators come for are useless to me. Really, that gap is so significant that if we don't change that curriculum, that educator will never be able to change the life journey for a child with special needs.
Yeah.
The world is going fast and the world is going far. We have to get digital upskilling for special needs, neurodiverse population into the education system for them. What was the second half of your question?
I wanted to ask you, how ready is the workforce to accept children with special needs, and if there is any appeal from your side?
I think the advantages of social media. This would come that awareness can be very easily spread. I think anybody who's willing to learn or is mandated to learn, at one point we had ethics. Having neurodiversity as an important topic, how to accommodate it in the workforce. Many people are coming forward. A lot of technology industries are coming forward for it. Ways to go, miles to go, I think. But it started. And I think it will be needed to be done at a rate or a scale that is very, very high. This is where the technology can help us again. I don't know if when the curriculum changes, using technology, the rate of learning, the rate of awareness, the rate of participation that you can change is huge. And we need to do it fast. I think we've been on the margins for very long. And if we can use technology, like how we are using our digital training systems, and the availability can just go to the masses through social media, through collaborators who can make it simple, easy, and quick to absorb. I think the community at large is ready for whatever we serve.
That's great. That's great. I know it's time's up for us, but it'll be unfair if I don't include a few questions from the audience. Anyone from the audience, please keep it short and sharp.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, myself Ishita Mishra, ma'am, many undiagnosed intellectual deficient students are suffering and are not being able to, उनकी problems को हम जल्दी से analyze नहीं कर पाते हैं. Schools में वो bad grades की वजह से judge होते हैं और misunderstood होते हैं. But हमारा school का structure भी ऐसा है. Our school structure is also in that, build it in that way कि इतनी importance और इतना उनको observe नहीं किया जाता. So how we can make schools build it in that way that these problems can be addressed?
Thank you.
I think the change will begin at the top. If the leaders of the school system or the education system have decided that that we are going to use scientific teaching strategies, we are going to use technology, I think you will understand that what we call as a intellectual disability, at least 80% of that will be a different way of thinking or a neurodiverse listening. So when we use technology to ease the work of teachers, to ease the identification of strengths, to ease the error analysis and which are the learning channels that would be more useful, the load on the education system or on an average teacher is very high. The load on a special educator on an average is very, very high. I think using technology, the day the leaders decide that this has to happen, we have created a school with 36 children and 30 educators. That is the ratio that we are serving in our school. Because the leader at some point 10 years ago decided that we will create a bridge program. The gap between a doctor's office of a diagnosis and the gap that exists in school, that gap has to be filled. And we created a very universal system and a system of method of working where you can grade how much, what do we teach, how much do we teach, how intensity do we teach, which area of the classroom benefits the child, which area of the classroom is a weak area, we should leave it, it's not important. Those decision makings, we've created those systems and those paradigms, we've run it for 10 years, transferring it into a systematic SOP and having then a very easy, affordable digital system to produce it to the other schools and telling each teacher that, okay, it's going to take 10 hours, this is something that you have to go through, this is your starting point, will actually change the life path for so many individuals with neurodiverse needs.
Sure.
That you'll be surprised that the rate of change will actually be humongous, and I'm waiting for that day, and hopefully it's going to happen within the next 5 years and no longer.
No, the path looks complicated, but it's very doable, and a lot of people are doing it already. So yeah, quickly, ma'am, your question.
I mean, first of all, I want to thank you and the organizers, such wonderful speakers throughout the day. It makes my day worthwhile. And after seeing you, it gives me so much hope. You know, post-COVID, I'm principal of a school, Medici School, Chhatarpur. And, we have so many children who are dealing with these issues, and we don't know where to send them, After talking to you, I'm getting so much hope. So I just want to ask you, do you train special educators also? Because I have special educators.
Yes, so we run training courses.
As you said, that they're from the best schools. But there's a gap.
Yeah.
The way, what they have, learned and how they have to deliver. This generation is totally different.
Yeah, I know.
And such stories, like I'll just share one story, like one of my parents, he was a pilot. He left his job because a child is 3 years old and she's not able to make the eye contact. First, we thought that she is deaf. Yeah. After a few years, we came to know she's not deaf. And, after 2 years. And the poor parents, like both of them are at home, they have left their job, everything for the child, and they're not going to. And the fellow tells me, ma'am, हम special therapy के लिए जाते हैं. I am paying 2,600 rupees per hour. He is spending more than 70,000 per month. And there are so many children post-COVID. You won't imagine the kind of flood that is there. As a principal of a school, I can really say that so many people are facing this issue. And you should train special educators. And I think you should talk to the Ministry of Education and, just go
I think it should be mandated.
Yes,
I really feel that if the leadership policymakers mandate it, and there is a team like us that can actually make it happen, the school principals will give it head on to their educators. But it has to be authentic, it has to be correct, it has to be current, it has to have the heart, body and mind, all three in the right place. So we are running training programs, we are running them digitally. We are training people in Bhopal, in Aligarh, in Muzaffarnagar, in Muzaffargarh. The people are accessing, special educators have themselves come forward. We are running education from 3,000 rupees, which is nothing, on digital platforms, self-paced, self-accessible. You don't have to stop working. if you have the willingness, we have the methodologies. And of course, they may not be perfect. They may need a lot of modification and customization, of course. But we've started the journey. Now join hands with me, and I beseech actually to give every child a chance.
I
Can
think
we
it's
have a round of
wonderful.
applause on that, please?
Wonderful.
Join hands with those who are working in this direction.
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm completely running out of time. I'd
Sorry.
urge that you connect
Right,
with
right.
Dr. Priyanka
Definitely,
Babu
definitely.
when
Thank
we
you
break
so
for
much.
lunch. But it
Thank
was
you.
a fantastic session. Thank you so much, Dr. Priyanka. And it was a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Now to felicitate Dr. Priyanka Babu, can I please call Sunil Goswami once again on the stage? Can I request you all to please stay back for 2 more minutes? We are going to announce formally when we break for lunch. But to honor the speaker, can we have a round of applause? Please bring her memento and the bouquet. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.